some of the things that really helped in the process. You spoke about last time music and movies, the role that um, both played in you learning English. Could you talk a little about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, when I was raised in Laredo, basically, it's right by the border. So I don't know if anyone's basically familiar with Laredo, Texas, but it's right by the border. So predominantly everyone who lives there speaks Spanish. So I kind of wasn't very forced to learn English, but again, a lot of my friends were speaking English. So my mom barely spoke English to me, none at all actually. My dad barely speaks English. But really, music and movies are the ones that I actually wanted to learn English for, if that made sense. A lot of my nursery rhymes were actually flipped. So, like the Itsy Bitsy Spider, what's the Itsy Bitsy Araña, which is funny. But basically, every single nursery rhyme you have for English speakers, you'll have for probably Spanish. Basically, English and Spanish are pretty transversal. You know, almost, what would you say? That's the most second spoke language, is probably Spanish. Um, but like I said, it wasn't pushed on me. But seeing English movies, it really helped me out. Seeing kind of like when I would see a movie and I would see them get mad, I could associate like kind of what word they were using to make them to see whether they were mad, and seeing kind of like the connotation of what they were using. Captions really didn't really understand it because I was super young, but I would always watch, my parents' movies in English, and I kind of just wanted to get and understand it that way. Same goes with music. My parents always playing Mexican music, but I and my friends always were listening to the English stuff, so I always kind of wanted to know what it was, and you know, just by doing that, translating wise, it would help me a lot.
Awesome, awesome. And you mentioned to me last time that you just saw Deadpool, which is a hilarious movie. What did you like about Deadpool?
Oh, what wasn't there to like? I mean, there's just a lot of comedy. You haven't found a movie like that in a very, very, very long time that makes you laugh probably throughout the whole movie. But yeah, I really, 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 really enjoyed the movie. Um,
Awesome, awesome. Do you feel that it's easier for people to learn English in this day and age because of the wealth of knowledge and the technology that's available?
well, I mean, absolutely. It's kind of funny how you brought up Deadpool. A lot of my friends here actually do speak Spanish. A lot of them come from Laredo, so um, I live in Austin, but they come from down south and they speak Spanish. So Deadpool can be found online, but we found it in Spanish, and it's translated a lot funnier because a lot of English translated to Spanish doesn't make sense. It's just if it's like backwards or if it's forwards, it just doesn't make sense. So for us, when it's when it funny English movie is translated into Spanish, it's even that much more funnier. So it kind of because we are in that day of age of they have to make the movie multi-language. It's not just Spanish, it's Chinese, it's Mandarin, it's everything. So I mean, this day and age, I believe if I went to school in elementary back then, I believe learning Spanish would probably be English would be so much more easier.
Awesome. Did you deal with any types of discrimination or prejudices as you were learning English? And not just the school environment, but like otherwise social environments as well.
Gotcha. I mean, being in Laredo, like I said, the demographic area in that area is predominantly Mexican. I mean, you're hardly gonna find a person of white skin color or of just different. You're gonna find a lot of brown skin. You're gonna find a lot of Hispanics, Latinos. I, for one hand, look very white, but my name is Dael, and people are very thrown off by my skin color because I look Anglo. But it actually, it's my billet that it's Spaniard, but that's where all my family is all light skinned, but it throws people off when I speak Spanish because they're like, oh, he speaks Spanish. So really the most prejudice I got was when I spoke Spanish in a predominantly English speaking store. When I say that, I don't mean to be like racist or anything, but maybe I would say like Neiman Marcus, for example. I don't want to. I mean, Neiman Marcus. Not many English speaking. Most people go in there speaking English, not Spanish. I went in there speaking Spanish just to see how I would get taught, and it was more of like, oh, let me get someone to help you, kind of push me off, and it just seems more. I don't know. If they don't know the language barrier is a big thing. So maybe more so of that end.
How do you feel about your English language comprehension now at this point?
Kind of like you said, in general, we live in a society that's it's just very English speaking. I've learned to tone down a lot of my accents. A lot of people tell me I don't have an accent. You told me I did, so it kind of it throws me off because I try to tone it down because of the profession that I do. But it tends to be kind of hard sometimes, when you go home and your mom's saying shares and it's supposed to be chairs and stuff like that. It's just it's home and you speak like you speak, and sometimes I speak fast, and that's when my accent comes out. But yeah, I don't know if that answered the question.
You mentioned how your mom pronounces some things. Are there any other words that are pronounced a little differently in the learning process?
Well, predominantly my mom speaks nothing but Spanish, so I try pushing her to speak English. So I like little furniture stuff for chairs. It's hard for them to pronounce a CH and just stuff like that. It's my dad tries to speak English, but it's really hard for them to. They just sound funny. You know what I mean? And then when we say like the White House, they say it backwards in
any areas in your English that you would like to improve?
Like I said, I speak really quick. So when I speak really quickly, my accent tends to come out, and I tend to say things. We tend to roll our R's a lot. So, for example, araña, things like that. When I speak quickly, things start to mush. So a lot of people don't understand what I'm saying. So I have to slow down and really pronunciate my words really. So just like you said, that question as far as how do I have to focus my language to make sure my accent doesn't come out? It's really my pronunciation of words, pronouncing certain syllables, pronouncing that, because as Hispanics, and Latinos, things are completely different and things are pronounced differently.
Also talked why it wasn't a big deal to learn English in Laredo. And this is when you were growing up. Is it still that way there now?
I would say so, very much so. Like I said, it's the location. Anywhere, look at a map, look where Laredo is. It's a border town. You can literally walk across the border and say you're in Mexico if you lived in Laredo. 9 out of 10 people you speak to in Laredo are going to speak Spanish. So you're not going to be looked down upon if you speak Spanish. In fact, you're probably going to be more beneficial if you know Spanish. Probably know where to go if you get lost. You're going to find, of course, like I said, English is everywhere. You're going to find someone who speaks English obviously everywhere. But it's probably easier to learn English than it was in my days because of technology, because of tablets, because of computers. We never had Rosetta Stone. I mean, I'm sure little kids don't use that, but we never had that. And now they have computers in schools instead of books, and they just definitely have a lot of better ways to learn the English language, or any other language for that being, in the institution of, in education in general.
My last question: how has being bilingual benefited you in the workplace?
Why is it funny when I want to say money signs? Because I do get paid a little bit more because I do speak 2 languages. Of course, that is always a great thing, but it gives me the sense that I could travel. So I just recently traveled not too long ago to Europe, and being able to communicate to people in like Spain, and just that gave me the kind of the mind scope of I couldn't actually live there if I wanted to, because I can actually communicate with the people there. Communicating with a different language not just English makes you be able to, you know, a lot your mind scope of where you can actually live opens up. So, I mean, I can actually travel and I can actually do international business as opposed to somebody who wants to do international business but only knows one language. Do you have that one up when you have two languages and you're trying to, you know, live in Mexico? Of course you do. So, being
Awesome.
bilingual definitely is definitely a good thing. So.